was teaching prior to having my instructor license. Okay. I think that teaching is something that I don't think it's necessarily something that can be taught if it comes from a passionate place inside of you, right?
Right.
My motto is each one teach one. Each one teach one, right? I've
Right.
taught in a country where licensure is not even required, and there's nail techs everywhere, amazing nail techs. But let me just say this, the perspective of someone who actually went to instructor school. There are things that you need to know about teaching that is you gotta you I feel like instructor school is important.
Polish in my hand, I'm ready to create each nail a masterpiece. I can hardly wait. Soft pastels or vibrant hues, each tells a tale in their artistry of nails. Nothing ever fails. With each swirl and twirl, let the magic begin. In this kingdom of gloss, there's no end to the wind. Gloss on my fingertips, watch them shine bright. Painted like a canvas, colors taking flight. Feeling fierce and fabulous, I'm ready to ignite. Slaying the nail game every single night. Nails and beauty talk with Asia the Bird. Nails and beauty talk with Asia the Bird.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, we have a very special guest with us today. She is the founder and owner of Negron School of Nails. Please welcome Mary Negron. Hello,
Hey,
Mary, and welcome.
hey, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. It's about time.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad to have you. So I want to go ahead and get started by asking where you're originally from and tell us about your upbringing.
Okay, well, originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I was
Mhm.
born at Fort Bragg. There, I'm a military brat. My parents were in the military. My father was Army. My mother was a government servant, civilian employee, GS
Mhm.
employee, and worked for the government. So I lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina, until I was about 2 years old, and then my mom got transferred to Germany. So I lived most of my young life in Germany up until we did 2 tours. So we went there,
Mhm.
stayed for 4 years. My sister was born there. Then we came back to Fort Bragg for 2 years. And then my other
Mhm.
sister was born there. So I'm one of three girls, the oldest. Um, and then we went back for 4 years. And so I did 8 years of my very young life in a foreign country, which was amazing. I loved living in Europe. It was great. And so once we got transferred back to the States, and we ended up in Augusta, Georgia, at Fort Gordon, which is now known as Fort Eisenhower. They changed the name of it recently.
Okay.
And this is where I've been ever since. I traveled, all over the place, but this is where I ended up after, at the end of the day. By the time I was 11, I've lived here ever since. So 30 years in Augusta, Georgia. Yeah, that's pretty much my upbringing. And it was in a foreign country. So I experienced all types of cultures. Anybody who has ever been in a military type of base or lived in a military installation, or even overseas or in another country, you know how diverse a military community can be, because everyone, anybody can join the military. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Spanish, whatever. So you get a
Right.
mix of people all from all over the world, when you're living in a
Right.
military base. So I was exposed to a lot of
Mhm.
culture, a lot of diversity, a lot of different types of people growing up. And my mother has a master's degree in education, and so I grew up in a teacher household, very much so. Our punishments were, write a 10 paragraph paper on what you did wrong and why you did, all of that good
Mhm.
stuff. So very, very disciplined when it came to education. And I always knew, my mother always told me, um, you know you can do whatever you want in life, but you have to be educated. So I always had that in the back of my mind. Education, education, education is key. And it honestly, it's what has gotten me to this point. And but I will say it wasn't higher education, college. Okay. This is crazy for me to say because I'm a school owner and an educator and I don't believe in a traditional college education. Isn't that crazy? Like
That's
I
crazy.
just don't think it's necessary in these days and times. We have
Right.
the internet and we can get educated online, which will bring me to what my school is all about later. But we don't have to, we can learn things from YouTube, stuff like that. So I came up in an era where the internet, I was born before the internet. Go for, wow. There was, can you believe there was a time there was no internet? Like it's crazy to even believe that, but
Right.
I was born in the times before the internet. So education, you really had to get it, out of the books and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's so much easier. But then, when I was, I think I'll never forget my first time getting on the internet. I was 11 years old. I stayed on it 24 hours straight. I could not believe it was AOL dial up. If I don't know how old you are, Asia, but honey, that was the thing back then. You sat there and waited like a whole minute for a picture to upload. It's like, wow, amazing. It was crazy back
Right.
then, but now we're so lucky to have the internet. But yeah, so my upbringing was very much military lifestyle. My mother was very highly educated, and then my father, on the other hand, was came from immigrant Puerto Rican family. And didn't grow up speaking English until he was about 5 years old. So he's bilingual.
Mm-hmm.
He dropped out of high school at a young age to join the military because back then you could join the military without a high school diploma. He was
Mm-hmm.
17, 18 years old, joined the military, and that's ultimately
Right.
how he met my mother. Was at Fort Bragg. He was jumping out of airplanes, and my mom was a preschool teacher, or daycare director. So yeah, that's the mashup between. So I came from a father who was a hustler, who had very little education but got through life and did okay. Up until that's a whole nother story. We don't have that much time. Did okay with himself, got into the military, and then a mother who was highly educated, who believed in a higher education and pushed that on us growing up. But
Mm-hmm.
my upbringing was really, 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 really good until, of course, my parents got divorced when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't very pretty at all. Again, the story is to be sold, not told. That's to go in the book. The details of that will be in my Lifetime movie, right? But at the end of the day, my parents got divorced, and I, ended up moving out of my family home very young, because my mother, was having issues with my father. Blah blah blah. Long story short, I moved out, got my own place. Was going to high, and my mother said, "If you can do it, if you think you can do it, I will support you, but you have to finish high school. You have to. Or you have to go to school. I won't let you, not go to school." So I got a little job at McDonald's, and it was walking distance from where my high school was. It was all the way downtown,
Mm-hmm.
way far away from where I grew up and went to high school at. And I got my GED because they had a program where you could get out of high school earlier. I guess there was a lot of young girls that were getting pregnant in high school at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were offering them the ability to get their GED because they, were not gonna finish high school. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, why can't I do it? I'm not I'm not pregnant or anything, but can I take this test and get out of here early, And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, why not? So I did, got my GED, and then proceeded to go on with life. That it was
Mm-hmm.
a journey, going through cosmetology school and all that. But I'll stop there and let you finish with your questions. We could talk for hours about my life. My life, again, it's something that I joke about. The story is to be sold, not told. But I could sit here and literally tell you a book and about how I got to this point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's wild. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
one of my mottos, or one of the things I tell my students all the time about my school, I'm like, this is a no excuses school. Because if Miss Mary could do it, you could do it with the type of, things that I had that were barriers for me, trying just the devil trying to keep me from doing good in life. Um,
Right.
I got through all of those things. And again, there's way more details and way more stories in between, but here we are. This is where we're
Mm, yeah,
at.
right,
And I'm
exactly.
blessed.
So who or what exposed you to the nail industry?
What exposed me to the nail industry? Well, who exposed me to the nail industry? My mother. My mother was so I told you we lived in Germany, in Europe, right? So if you
Mm,
know anything about the nail industry history, um, you or where it started and things of that nature. It started in a dentist's office. It was developed that way, but um,
mm,
I had never seen nails in the US. Again, I was a little kid, when I was in the US, but in Germany, there was nail salons on, in every hair salon. So my
mm,
mom, again, she was a professional, so she had to keep her hair done and she had to look professional. So she was the one that got her hair cut and colored often, and she kept herself up. She's a very beautiful woman, I must say. And
mm,
even now in her old age. But she kept herself up. And one of the
mm,
things that I'll never forget, my first time seeing her get nail extensions.
mm,
And they were sculpted nails, and it was in a German hair salon where she was getting her hair done. And I was in awe because I was one of those little girls that was very much a tomboy when I was a little girl. Little girl.
mm,
Like
yeah.
I was one of those girls that, I wanted to hang with the boys. I didn't really care about any of that stuff. I was really, I wanted to play outside and things like that. But well, that's all we had to do. We didn't have the internet. We had to play outside. So, but I didn't care about the beauty part, and I was also very overweight as a child.
Mm,
I mean, not saying that I'm not now. I'm about 30 pounds overweight now, but I was very overweight.
mm,
So I had issues with, confidence and self esteem and things like that. So one of the things that people used to always say to me is, "You have such a pretty face," So I was, and to me that's kind of offensive. You have such a pretty face. Well, what about the rest of me? So I was always one of those kids that I loved to accessorize. Like I knew I couldn't
mm,
wear the cutest outfits because I was heavier, but accessories like jewelry, I always loved makeup, and my mother was so good at doing makeup. So that's one of the places that I excelled in the beauty industry, and that's part of my history too. Is that I was a makeup artist for a long time.
mm,
But my mother, I sat there and watched her get her nails done, and I was like, you can. I didn't know anything about fake anything. Okay, my mother. Okay, just a little history. My mother is a white woman. Okay, so she didn't know anything about extensions and not like I wear this whole this extension. Okay, the bun
mm,
is not all me. My mother didn't know anything about that. She just worked with what she had. So she didn't wear wigs, or she didn't wear any type of anything outside of what she had. So when I saw the nail extension, I was like, what? It opened up my eyes to now I'm like, oh my God, what is hair extensions and wigs and weaves and all of this stuff? It opened up my eyes to those types of things that people wear fake nails, right? So
mm,
I'll never forget as soon as we got back to the States when I was old enough. And I probably was about 9 years old at that time.
mm,
When we moved back to the States when I was 11, my mom, having lived in Germany for so long, you couldn't buy professional products in the store. When we go to Sally's, and what does my mom see there? An acrylic kit, an
mm,
acrylic sculpting kit by Tammy Taylor. And so my mom was like, oh, I can do my own. My mother is a DIY person, very much
mm,
DIY. So am I, very much so. And she was like, I can do my own nails just like they did in Germany. So she's trying to do it, and they were a mess. They were horrible, but she was frugal too. So I got my hands on it. I was like, Mama, I want to do it. So my mom got me the kit, and it had a little VHS tape. It was the pink and white sculpted nails from start to finish, how to do them. And Tammy Taylor is the GOAT. She is my mentor when it comes to everything. I mean, if you look at what I've done with my career, she's the blueprint. I mean, 100%. Okay. Tammy Taylor Nails, Mary Negron Nails, products, education, like
Mm-hmm.
everything. She's the blueprint. But my mother is the one who exposed me. So I started playing with that sculpting set and I was horrible at it. And my mom was like, encouraging. She's a teacher. Oh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. Look what the nails my daughter did. And I'm 11, 12 years old. They were horrible. But that's who exposed me. And that's how I got started with
Mm-hmm.
nails.
I
So,
want to push forward and talk about your nail school, Mary Negron School of Nails. So tell us about the journey of opening up your own nail school.
oh wow. Okay. Well, I always believed in education again because of my mother, right? So I don't believe what you heard. Mary Negron was one of the first people to do the classes, the boot camps and the 2-day learn how to do acrylic nail classes. Okay, this was
Mm-hmm.
back in the 2000s. Back in 2012, 2011, things like that. So I started doing classes, and I'd have them in this same room that I'm in. Because don't get it twisted, I don't want to school, but I'm not a million. I still live in the same house I've been in for 15 years. So in this same room, I had people travel from all over the East Coast, West Coast to come and do a class in my house. I'll never forget, I had 12 people in this small room. It was so hot in here. Oh my God. But it was a look and learn class. It was a look and learn class. And this was before I had my nail tech license, but this was before I had the school. So then, my to fast forward, I never had an instructor license, but I started going to Africa. That's another story. Again, how I ended up in Africa. I don't know if you want to open up that can of worms, but I ended up in Africa teaching a young lady who had hired me to come there. She had opened a nail salon, and she had there's no licensing in Nigeria. This is where I was in Nigeria. So
Mm-hmm.
she was like, I need some help training these people. They've never been to school. It's just each one teach one. Somebody taught one person taught another, and it was all wrong. So she was hired me to come over there and train. I got six nail salon, nail technicians. They weren't, not licensed, but nail technicians trained in 2 weeks what I teach in my school in 600 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So word started getting around about this American lady that comes to Nigeria to train. Next thing you know, I got an email come from another salon that was like, hey, can you come train our staff? We'll pay you to come to Nigeria. I was like, yeah, I'll come back. I got a visa that's good for 2 years. Let's use it. So I started going back, and then
Mm-hmm.
COVID happened. By that time, I had been going to Nigeria for like 3 or 4 years by that time. So
Mm-hmm.
then COVID happened, and of course, Donald Trump was like, you can't go to these S-hole countries and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. So we were on a travel ban. I couldn't even travel to Nigeria. So during that time, I was like, we couldn't do nails. I couldn't go to Nigeria. So I sat down for like 3 months. You remember that? No nail salons were open. They wouldn't let
Right.
anybody work. So
Right.
I was like, okay, this is my perfect opportunity to go to instructor school because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to open a school here in the U.S. I need to have something going on. What I'm doing over there, I need to do it over here. So I went to instructor school,
Mm-hmm.
and because it was during COVID, I was able to do the whole thing online and
Mm-hmm.
passed my test. Long story short, took every dime of what I had saved up in my bank account and opened up my little humble school with everything that they wanted me to have. And the state board, I did my inspection, and they were like, "Are you out of your mind?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" They were like, "You're opening a school during COVID." I was like, I mean, I thought about it. I said, what has not stopped during COVID? If you think about it, go back in time because it feels like it was forever ago. But what were the things that did not stop during COVID? And education. The answer
Mm-hmm.
is education. The
Mm-hmm.
kids still had to go to school. They went online, but they still had
Mm-hmm.
to go to school. I'll never
Oh yeah,
forget
true. Right. Yeah.
people that were going to Harvard were pissed off because they were like, I'm paying Harvard tuition and y'all want me to do it from the comforts of my crappy dormitory apartment. I can't go to class. I just was like, wow, this is gonna be crazy. Like, I'm gonna open this school and it's gonna be great. And I just knew it. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I just had it in my head it was gonna be great. And they approved my school. My school was the first and only and the only nail school in my city. And to this day, it's one of only three or four now. I think a couple of people have opened schools since, three or four in the whole state of Georgia that are nails only, because there's cosmetology schools, obviously, that teach nails, but
Mm-hmm.
nails only school. And the first day that I opened, which was in January 2021, January 4th, 2021, my every table was full and I had a waiting list. Every single
Wow.
table. That was 20 students, 20 students. I call them my
Wow.
first 20. And if you know the history of Vietnamese nail history, you know who the first 20 were. So they're my first 20, even though they made me go crazy. They made me crazy, but they were my first 20. So I was really proud of that. And we've been open ever since. And
Mm-hmm.
Saturday class, if I take two more students, I'll be over the amount that I can legally take. We're full. So I'm really proud of it.
Wow, that's really, really great. So I want to also get into the next question. So in your nail school, you have a student salon. So could you talk some of the services? Could you talk about some of the services that you offer in the student salon in your nail school?
Yeah, so our students, which we just started doing this because of COVID, we weren't
Mhm,
taking walk-ins or any clients because I just,
mhm,
I didn't want anybody to feel uncomfortable working on strangers or working on people because they were new students and things of that nature. So, or new to the industry. Plus, for a long time we couldn't. The state board wouldn't. So what we ended up doing was just recently, because I have so many students, I said, you know what? It's time they start working on humans, actual humans, and not mannequin hands. So we opened up the
mhm,
student floor, and what they are allowed to do. Well, some of them, are already talented. They're working without a license and doing really, really great, but illegally outside of school. So they're doing, they know how to do nails, and so some of them I allow them to do services that I know that they're able to do. But in general, we do pedicures,
mhm,
manicures, whether it's regular lacquer or gel manicures. We do not put gel on the toes. I do not allow them to put gel on toes, and we do not remove gel on toes.
mhm,
The way that most people are used to getting that done, and there's a reason for that as well. We do you know, full sets of acrylic with tips if they want sculpted nails, and the student is at the point where I feel comfortable, letting them do the sculpted nails, because ultimately we don't want the clients walking out with nails that they're gonna like pop off this next day, but they are
right,
students. They are students, so they do have to be understanding of the fact that they're getting these, would be $80 nails for $20. They have to understand that they're being done by students. But we have some very talented students, so they do gel nails as well, sculpted or tips. They also can do nail art. We have all types of nail art and different color polishes and all kinds of things. But it is
mhm,
a school where we do the foundationary stuff. So at this time, we're not doing anything that's really out of control, like these extendo nails. They're only there for 5 hours a day. So when you're a new
mhm,
nail tech, it takes a lot longer than what it would normally take for you to do if you're a professional and been doing it a while. But yeah, we just do offer basic services that the students can practice with at very discounted prices. And I mean very, like, our pedicures are only like $15 for
mhm,
a pedicure, with polish and all that stuff. So, compared to what a pedicure can run you $35-$40. So,
mhm,
but we do ask that the clients book on our website so that we
mhm,
know they're coming, right?
right,
And that
mhm,
we can assign them to a student that is at that level. Because we do have students that are not quite ready to do acrylics yet, and some of them
right,
are, only have learned pedicure so far, things of that nature.
mhm,
So that's what we're doing. But I'm super proud of them. They've been taking clients, and they're doing good. It's totally different working on a mannequin hand than it is working on a human that's
right, mhm,
discriminatory, and it's like, hey, you missed a spot, stuff
right,
like that. But we
absolutely,
our clients are really, really, really good. Most of them are family members of the students, which I encourage, so that they feel
Mhm.
comfortable. But yeah, it's going good.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into as far as nail health. So what I've seen on social media is the toe BBLs and you did mention about, the gel on toes. So in your perspective, from an educator point of view, what is the issue in regards to having acrylic on toes and also gel polish on toes?
Okay, so let me start with the easy one for when it comes to reasons why. So gel polish on the toes. It's not the gel polish that's the problem. Okay,
Mhm,
gel polish is not the issue. The issue is the removal of the gel polish.
mhm,
Okay, so when you are removing gel polish, the proper way to do it is to soak it off so that you can maintain the amount of layers of nail that you have on your nail plate so that your
mhm.
nails will stay strong. A lot of people confuse the products and the nail tech. Which one is the problem? It's not the products, it's the nail tech. The
Yeah,
nail tech is usually, or of course, in the case where the student or the client, excuse me, the client is peeling their own polish off or peeling
right.
their own
Mhm,
nails. Let's take that out of the equation. When it comes
mhm.
to products versus nail tech, it's the nail tech. If your nail
Right.
tech is filing your gel polish off all the way down to the actual nail plate, they're removing layers of nail. So then
Right.
you as the client, and I say you, but you as the client, you go, oh, gel is bad. It's making my nails thin. Well, the gel didn't make your nails thin.
Mhm,
What made your nails thin was the nail tech that
mhm.
e-filed that
Filing it
polish
down.
all the way off down to.
Mhm,
And imagine some ladies are getting their polish during the summer, especially. They may not get a pedicure, but they may get a polish change every week. And
mhm,
if you're getting a gel polish change or every 2 weeks, if you're getting a gel polish change every 2 weeks and they're e-filing it off all the way down to your natural nail, you're losing a layer of nail every single time. So the
mhm,
proper way, I don't have a problem with gel on the toes. Gel on the toes is amazing. It will last forever.
mhm.
However, that's realistically, you got to remove it. And if you're going to remove it,
Right.
it needs to be soaked off properly, not peeled off, not filed off. It should be soaked off. And this comes
Mhm,
with proper training and education. This is why DIY, there's some things that I just don't think people should be DIYing, and that is the use of gel. So that will
mhm,
lead me to the next thing, which is acrylic toes, which you asked about, right?
mhm,
So now your toenails are thin because you've been getting them e-filed all the gel off of your toenails for a year or so, whatever. Now your
mhm.
toenails are thin and they are breaking and they're not growing a nice free edge like they used to, and they're not strong. So what do you do to combat that? Well, most ladies get acrylic toes. And the
Right.
problem with acrylic toes, so one problem leads to another. So let's be clear there.
Right.
Most people
Mhm.
don't most people don't jump and say, "Let me get acrylic toes," just because. Now people do, but usually they get acrylic toes because they can't grow their own toenails. And if you leave your
Right.
toenails alone, I promise you they will grow and they will be much thicker than your regular fingernails. But again,
Mhm,
so the gel polish leads to the acrylic. So they get the acrylic toenails, and I don't have a problem with, they look beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful, and I see why people get them. However, acrylic is too strong to put
yeah.
on the toenails.
It's
Think
harder.
about it. We do way more with our toenails or our feet than we do with our hands.
Yeah.
You walk on those things. You walk all day long on your feet. You're putting every bit of your weight every time you can. This is why we wear shoes as human beings, to protect our feet, because we're walking on this, walking on that.
Yeah, walking on
And
different
during the
surfaces.
summertime, we're walking barefoot, and then so you've got this hard acrylic. So there's a couple of issues, right? It's your feet are in shoes, and now your toes are jammed into those shoes. And every time you push up against that
Mm,
shoe, it's pushing that acrylic toenail. And when it pushes that hard acrylic toenail that does not bend, it's jamming that acrylic toenail into the matrix area, which is back here in the
mhm,
back of the nail. And again, this comes with school and training. So if you damage the matrix, you have no nail, or you will have a damaged nail. So a year after you're walking around in these, and I see the videos on TikTok of people like, oh my God, I had to take my shoes off because these acrylic toes are killing my feet. It's not only killing your feet, it's killing your toenails. So eventually you end up with some type of disorder like onycholiasis, which is separation of the nail plate from the nail bed. And that's because you keep pushing that acrylic toe up against the matrix, and now or up against the shoe, and now it's either lifting the nail up or it's pushing into the matrix, causing damage. And that's why you end up with these busted looking toenails. And not to mention, so that's two reasons why. Okay, well, one reason why it can cause damage. One of the most obvious reasons is trauma. You kick some. How many times have you stubbed your toe in your life, Asia? Seriously, I've done it. I can't even tell you how many
Like a
times.
few
And you're
times.
lucky if you don't lose a toenail, right? Usually
Right.
you just end up with pain. In the case of an acrylic toenail, I've seen cases, you're lucky if the whole toenail pops off at one time. Usually that doesn't happen. You kick the wall and it lifts up and it's bleeding, and you're like, I don't know what to do. It's just hanging there, my toenail. And why did it do that? And it's still attached to the acrylic nail. And why is that? Because the acrylic is so hard.
Yeah.
That, and it's short, and usually it's thick because it's on a toenail. Obviously it's going to be thicker than a regular fingernail, right? So it's not going to break. It's not going to break. You want your nails to break if you're ever in a traumatic injury type of thing like that. So then you end up with no toenail. So then what do? You keep putting acrylic back on it. Every time a little bit of toenail grows, you just put more and more. And now you are forever disabled with a horrible looking toenail. Because once you have damaged the matrix, you're lucky if you get a nail that looked like the nail you had before. So now you've got to go and get a prosthetic toe, which, I'm sure you're going to ask me, well, if it's no acrylic, then what should we be putting on the toes? Because that's always the next question. What should we use instead? But I'll let you ask the questions.
Yeah. So, if people aren't able to use like acrylic, like what are some alternatives as far as, from acrylic? Like what are some alternatives?
Okay, so the answer to that is, first of all, they should allow their toenails to grow and be healthy. Okay, they shouldn't need anything on their toes. Now, if for some reason you do end up with very thin toenails because of gel and you're trying to grow those toenails out, or you need a toe prosthesis because your whole toenail, or toenail prosthetic, because your whole toenail has been destroyed because of acrylics or gels or whatever that you've been using. There are products out there. However, Asia, these products are only sold to professionals. So this is why you see a lot of toe BBLs and things being done by nail technicians that aren't trained, because a trained nail technician would never put acrylic on the toe to begin with. Period. So with that being said, I actually have some product right here. And the actual product is a gel, but it's not gel like builder gel or hard gel, because hard gel is just that, hard. Okay, it's not as flexible as let's say a soft gel. Okay, when we're talking about soft gels, these are soak off gels. So this product is actually, this is called NanoFlex. It is a product that is actually created for toenail reconstruction. Okay. So why is it a proper product for the toes? Well, number one, toenails are inside shoes that sweat, they get a lot of moisture. So a lot of times if you have acrylic toenails on, you'll end up with a fungus, because there's water getting under there, moisture. When we shower, our feet are standing in a pool of water, so they're always exposed to moisture. Also, gel is not appropriate. People will say to me, well, no acrylic, well, I'm going to use gel. Well, you're not supposed to put any chemical on the actual skin. So if you put gel on a toenail that needs to be reconstructed, you're now exposing the client to a chemical which can now give them an allergic reaction called contact dermatitis, which I suffer from myself. So this product also is made for use on the direct skin for toenail reconstruction. It can go directly on the skin. It also, if I were to open this and show you, you probably can't see this, or it won't show up on the camera. But if I open this and show you, there's actual silver particles inside this gel,
Mm.
and those are called nanosilvers, which are a antifungal ingredient. So it
Mm.
will prevent you from growing a fungus on the toenail while you're trying to grow a new toenail out. And this
Mm.
product is very flexible, so it will bend. So if you
Mm.
were to stub your toenail, it will flex. It'll give you some flexibility, and you're not going to re-injure that matrix and cause the toenail to be back at square one. So that's one
Mm.
product. Again, there's other ones like LCN Barefoot is what it's called. It's a
Mm.
gel that they have. There's Caraflex, which you'll see that in podiatrist offices.
Mm.
Podiatrists actually do this. So there's other products out there. The only problem is you can't just buy them unless you are, of course, you can get your hands on anything these days, but you can't just
Mm.
buy these products unless you're licensed or have been trained on how to use them. So that's probably where the issue comes from.
Mm. Yeah, I want to get into safety and sanitation. So you talk about sterilization as well. What are the things that nail techs and nail artists should know as far as sterilization, and how can clients know that the nail tech is sterilizing their implements?
Okay, so I think here, Asia, the issue with clients understanding sterilization is they confuse the word sanitation and sterilization. Okay,
Mhm.
because there's a difference. So when we talk
Mhm.
about cleaning, and I'm a teacher, so I gotta point this out. When we have our implements, they first need to be washed with soap and water, right, to get all the
Mhm.
debris, scrub them off. Then we rinse them off, and then the next thing we do is sanitize them, right? And
Mhm.
sanitizing can be your alcohol or whatever, and sanitization and is different from the next level, which is disinfection. Okay,
Mhm.
disinfection is when you use barbicide, and that's that blue stuff that has to
Mhm.
be mixed and all that stuff.
Right.
And disinfection is perfectly fine. Like, as long as they are being the implement, you can stop there. As long as it's being done properly, you can stop there. The problem is clients and nail technicians alike are confusing what the difference between disinfection, sterilization, and sanitation. So the next level is sterilization. Okay, and
Mhm.
sterilization is when you see those packs, those pull apart packs, and so what is the purpose of the packs? And most people have no idea that the reason they're in those packs is because they should have been in or gone through a cycle called sterilization in an autoclave. And these are are equipment that you see in like doctors' offices.
Mhm.
You will see it in dentist offices. We all know we go to the dentist, they pull it
Yeah,
out of
rip
that
that
pack,
out.
right? You go to
Mhm.
the OBGYN, they pull everything out of that pack. And we think we think as consumers, okay, well, if my nail technician pulled something out of that pack, it must be super uber clean. Well, maybe. And we need to be able, as consumers, to know how we'll know if something is sterilized. And so, again,
Mhm.
what first thing you should do is ask, do you have a sterilizer? And when we talk about a sterilizer, I'm not talking about those light UV light sterilizer. We're talking about something that looks like a bank vault, okay? That
Mhm.
opens up, and you open it up, and when you put the implements in, it steams up and gets hot. And those things are expensive, an autoclave, okay? There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with asking a nail salon owner or a nail technician in a salon, do you have an autoclave? And I have videos on my reviews, because I don't know if you've seen my reviews, where I ask and they're like, what's an autoclave? And I'm like, well, you brought everything out in a packet, but you don't know what an autoclave is. So that's red flag number one, right? Number
Mhm.
two is those packets will have an indicator on it that will say this packet has been through the cycle of sterilization. If this arrow turns black, or it'll tell you blue or red. And so there's nothing wrong with asking the nail technician, hey, can I see that packet real quick? Let me see. I take mine
Mhm.
all the time. And never, ever, ever in any of my experience have I ever come across a nail salon that is
Mm-hmm.
actually putting those implements through a sterilizer process. A, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have a sterilizer, and B, the packets were not showing that it went through the process. So the reason they're doing this, a lot of people just don't realize that those packets have a purpose. And the second reason is they're trying to make you think that they sterilize their implements, and really they're just shoving them in the bag and sealing it and not cleaning it at all. Sometimes it's really bad what's going on in the industry. I see it with my own eyes.
Mm. Now, what is your perspective as far as coming up with a business plan and business ownership? What would be your advice as far as for nail techs, nail artists who wants to start a business to have a business plan and understand business ownership?
Well, first of all, a business plan is non-negotiable. Like you have to have. This is something that an assignment that I have my students do in class. Before that, this is their senior project. They have to do this project before they graduate. A business plan, whether it is a real, a made up business, or they haven't thought about it before, they have to think about it before they graduate, because my students who do a business plan and do the senior project where they create their own salon senior project, those are just the ones that excel at that, are the ones that I can tell you right now have salons open, and they opened them within days or weeks of getting their license. So the importance of having a business plan, I mean, let's be honest, we all in our head have an idea of how we want our life to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about your business, why would you go to nail school other than to do nails, right? So in your mind, you've got a plan. This is what I want to do. Well, what is yours? Do you want to have a suite? Do you want to own a salon? Do you want to work in a salon? You still need to brand yourself, and you need to think about these things. How are you going to finance this stuff? And at the end of the day, the most important reason to have a business plan is because if you want to get money, they're going to want one. If you want to go to a bank to get a loan, they're going to want to see a business plan. And they will give you money if you have a good one. And when I give them the assignment for the business plan, I actually give them my exact business plan that I wrote for my school verbatim. And they just have to make their own and make it make sense with their
Right.
own ideas. So you can't do anything without a plan. I mean, every day we get up in the morning, we got a plan. What are you going to do today? I mean, some people, most people do though. They're like, I got to do this. I got to do this first, this first,
Right.
this first, in order for my day to go smoothly. So why wouldn't you want that when it comes to business? And when it comes to um, who to go to for these things, look to every one of the things I always do is if I see somebody and I'm like low key like, dang, how did they get all that? Or what did you seen these videos on TikTok where they walk up to people in Lamborghinis and they're like, hey, what do you do for a living?
Right. Yeah, I've
Like
seen that. Yeah.
how did you get here? Like I do that. I may not ask the person outright because I'm Southern, that's rude. But it's rude to do that,
Right.
but I might look into the person and say, wow, what do they do for a living? Like how did they, how did they get to this point? What kind of steps did they take? And you might even ask them. There's nothing wrong with asking people. You can
Right.
ask me. I'll tell you my story. It's an open book until I write the book, and then but ask people. Follow the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all got to stop following these trash accounts and people that are just wasting your time. Start listening to people who have business advice. Take courses. Listen to people that are going to uplift you and help you build your business mindset. That is so important. You gotta. We say here, she don't have no business about herself. You can tell. You got to start acting like you have some business about yourself so that you can have that mindset. Start thinking like you already have that business, and it starts before you even begin. That's what planning is all about. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
business plan, very
absolutely.
important.
Now, what do you think about the current state of the nail industry from a nail educator point of view?
Say that again. You broke up just a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you think about the current state of the nail industry from a nail educator point of view?
Woo! Asia. Where do I begin? Um, so what do I think about the current state of the industry? Well, the industry itself is starting to fall apart. It's dismantling in the sense of regulation. They're trying to deregulate. And when I say that, they're trying to take away licensure in some states. They're even trying to do it
Mm,
here in my state of Georgia. Yeah, yeah.
I
I
never
don't
knew that.
know whose bright idea that was, but they've already deregulated. For instance, in Texas, they've taken away the need for an instructor license in Texas. You don't have to have a license to instruct to be an instructor in Texas. All you have to be is a licensed nail technician or a licensed stylist or whatever. So that basically just means, anybody can open a school, anybody can, as long as you're a licensed person. And let me just say this. I was teaching prior to having my instructor license, okay? I think that teaching is something that I don't think it's necessarily something that can be taught if it comes from a passionate place inside of you, right?
Right.
My motto is each one teach one. Each one teach one, right? I've taught
Right.
in a country where licensure is not even required, and there's nail techs everywhere, amazing nail techs. But let me just say this, the perspective of someone who actually went to instructor school. There are things that you need to know about teaching that is you gotta you I feel like instructor school is important. You may run, what do you do in the cases of you run into a student that has a certain type of learning disorder, or maybe they are having things going on at home, or things like words like cognitive dissonance. You got to learn these things in so that you can apply them. Now, does everybody need to go to instructor school? No, but everybody does need to go to nail technician school. And when it comes, if you want to learn how to do nails properly, and it's so important. And this is coming from somebody who's a nail technician, not just a nail school owner.
Mm,
There's so many people who are out here teaching things incorrectly. Asia, I spend most of my day reteaching or unteaching people, that more time doing that than I actually do teaching. It's so much easier to teach someone that has a clean slate than it is to teach someone who already thinks they know something and they're completely wrong, and trying to
right.
unteach them. And this comes from, where part of your question, what do I think is, the biggest issues in the industry today? The education is it's just not there. It's not there. And now we have, as much as I love YouTube University, I'm a huge fan. I go to YouTube for just about everything. There's some things you can't go to YouTube for. And no one's teaching chemistry of nails. No one's teaching you what is dehydrator versus primer versus gel versus polygel. No one's teaching that. They're just showing you how to use it. And what we're
Right.
getting is a lot of untrained people doing disservices to themselves and their clients by causing them to have allergic reactions, their own self to have allergic reactions. They're
Mm-hmm.
putting products on people that are causing major damage, and removing products that is causing damage to clients. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all and it all boils down to education. So I think that what our biggest problem in the industry is that our education is fault, and let me just say that in life in the United States, our education system is falling apart. And
Mm-hmm.
to include in the nail. I mean, there's, like I said, I'm only one of three or four nail schools in the whole state. Most of my students drive upwards 2 hours on Saturday or Friday to come to my school, passing all kinds of cosmetology schools that teach nails just to come to my school.
Wow.
This is from their mouth to mine. It's the education. It's because you're teaching it. It's because I'm getting it from you, not because they could read it from the book at any school. So yeah, I think I would, and that's why my goal is to open up more schools in different locations, because education is key. It's
Mm-hmm.
key. And if I'm the only place, and I won't say only, but if I'm the one of the only places that you can get a good education, let's multiply this where we can, so that this industry doesn't die. I don't want my industry to die. I don't want everybody to be doing their own nails at home with press-ons and thinking that, and the beauty of what we do as nail technicians and the talent it takes to do it. I don't want it to die. So that's very
Mm-hmm.
important to me. It starts with education. So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that there's definitely miseducation in the nail industry. I remember the time like a year or two ago, it was this whole thing with the airbrush. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
remember that the airbrush with
Mm-hmm.
the acetone and gel, and even
Mm-hmm.
with that, you get constant dermatitis that gets on your clothes, and the toxic
In your
in the air
lungs.
in your lungs. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, definitely, I really saw like miseducation in this industry as of
and and
recently.
and, and that's just one. That's just one example. Like it's so
Yeah.
it's just it's so much. But yes, that is probably the biggest issue to me. That and
Mhm.
deregulation,
Mhm.
possible deregulation. And the reason they're wanting to do the deregulation is because they're seeing all these nail techs are making money and they're not going to school. But the problem is, in time, there's going to be a time where we'll no longer even want to get our nails done because everybody will be allergic to everything because
Right.
of overexposure.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah,
education.
right, exactly. So what are some things you like about the nail industry?
Oh, the things that I love is probably the part of the things that I hate. So it's okay. So we've got the miseducation, right? Where is it coming from? It's coming from social media. It's coming
Right.
from these platforms, right? But those are also the things that I love about the industry because Asia, when I first started doing nails, you were lucky if you could even catch a picture of some really fly nails from like Detroit. So back in the day, we had the hair magazines, right? And you would
Mhm.
go to the hair salon to get your hair done. And in the back of Designer Hair magazine, they had like 10 pages of some of the flyest nail artists you've ever seen.
Mhm.
One of my mentors, and one of the people who I first saw nails from Detroit was Mika International. She still does nails to this day, but she was in the back of every magazine. She was a Detroit nail technician, and when we're talking about nails, y'all think you're doing something now. You should have seen back in the day when they were gluing pieces of glass and they were putting
Mhm.
all kinds of things on nails, and they'd be out to here and curved, and
Mhm.
that was all we had to get a glimpse of nails. Nowadays, all you gotta do is search nails one time on TikTok. It's stuck in your algorithm. That's all you're gonna see is nails, 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 nails from
Right.
everywhere, all over the place. And so to be able to network with other nail techs, when I was first doing nails, I didn't know any other nail techs. And the crazy thing is, all I knew was, what I would see in the nail salons, which was mostly Vietnamese nail technicians because they were all over the place. But I
Right.
never saw somebody that looked like me, talked like me. I never saw black nail technicians of any people of color, females. I never saw male nail technicians ever. And then the
Mhm.
internet, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, they're everywhere, and we get to network with each other and we get to learn from each other. Now, don't misunderstand me. This also is part of the reason why I feel we have a problem in this industry because of these social media outlets delivering the wrong messages and the wrong education.
Right.
But it is also one of the things that I love about this industry is that we are able to share each other's passion, art, the nail art. Oh my gosh, the nail art is what we were doing back then. You guys have taken it and remixed it like just like you millennials do and made it into something new. And you have
Yeah.
the amazing technology that you have today. Back in the day, going to the nail salon was an 8-hour thing. That was a whole day. You went once a month on Saturday and you sat there all day, mainly because you
Mm.
were waiting for your polish to dry.
Mhm.
So now
Right.
we've got the great, invention of gel polish,
Mhm.
so gel polish gets you in and out. You can make more money. You can do more things. The nail art industry is out of control. It's amazing and I love it. But yeah, that's probably my favorite thing about the industry. And now being able, because I love to go live. I'm able to spread my message so much
Mhm.
easier. The days of having to put a flyer on somebody's car at the mall to get them to book with you are over. You can just go show your work and you'll have a fan base. Even
Right.
if they're not in your city, you'll have a fan base of people who support you. And I love that about technology. The technology is great. So I would say technology. That's the greatest thing about nails nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you can offer one valuable piece of advice for up and coming nail techs, what would it be?
Oh, one piece of advice, because I thought I had to think about this one because I have several pieces. But if I had to give one piece of advice, the advice I would give you is to continue your education. I sound like my mother right now, but I'm telling you, continue your education. It does not stop at nail school. As a matter of fact, it's just the beginning.
Right.
One of my sayings is that and I heard my daddy used to say this to me all the time. It takes 10,000 hours to master a skill.
Right.
10,000. When you get out of school in Georgia anyway, you only tapping on the very beginning. 600 hours? That's nothing. And then when I say a
Mm-hmm.
skill, I don't mean nail technology. I mean, if you want to be the best nail sculptor on the planet, you've got to sculpt only for 10,000 hours, not nail tips 1 minute, sculpting the next, a little gel polish here, just sculpting. And you know
Mm-hmm.
how long that takes? We did the math. 10,000 hours, 40 hours a week. That's 4 years of doing, if nothing but sculpting nails. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
how long it takes to master this skill? And this is why I don't want my industry to die. And education is what's going to give it back breath. That's what's going to resuscitate it. That's what's going to make, now in this oversaturated industry of nail technicians that can do nails as soon as they come out of the womb because of YouTube, we need to now get back to the root of it. And education is going to set people apart. When you've got a nail tech sitting in front of you that knows the difference between the nail plate and the eponychium and the hyponychium, and they know that these products should not touch the skin versus one that's literally just doing whatever they learned on YouTube, people are
Right.
going to start distinguishing that. When they said that deregulation was a possibility, someone asked me, they said, Miss Mary, are you worried if they take away nail tech licenses from nail techs? Are you worried that your school is going to suffer? I said, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be even more full. Here's what's going to happen. If they take away licensing, people are now going to look for a person who went to school. They're going to say, okay, that just because they take away licensing doesn't mean I have to close my school. That just means you can go to my school and learn everything you need to learn, and you don't have to worry about a license. So now
Right.
people will now want to go to school, and the community will say, we need to find nail techs that at least went to a school. Like, they need a certificate on their. So nothing will change because we still got nail techs working without licenses that still come to me about education. So it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, continuing your education, it starts at school and it never ends. Every day I'm taking a new class on something, whether it's business related, whether it is nail related, whether it is a YouTube tutorial that I'm learning some new nail art so that I can bring it to my students. It constantly, the day that I stop learning will be the day I'm in my casket. That's the day. And you will only get better and you will only grow if you continue your education. Stop thinking you know everything. I've got
Mm-hmm.
students sitting in my class that are trying to get a license. They know everything. you know, that's not how you're going to grow in this industry. You've got to
Right.
be open-minded and you've got to
Right.
keep learning. Go to the shows. Go to their boot camps. Just when they're teaching something is wrong, ignore that part and just take in the stuff that is part of what you've been taught. Okay, and learn
Mm-hmm.
these nail art techniques. Learn this stuff when something is new. Learn it. Stop being one of those people that's like, I don't do French. What? Right now, everybody wants French. You are telling me you don't do French? Like, what? I don't know how to do it. Learn. Take a
Mm-hmm.
class. Do practice, 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 practice every single day. I'm sitting right now in my home studio where when I'm not in the school teaching, I'm here practicing. and I've been doing nails for 30 years. So
Wow.
it comes, yeah, since I was 12 years old. I've been doing nails for 30 years. Now, I've been licensed since 2016, but I've been doing nails, doing them without a license plus the license for 30 years. So it takes, and I'm still learning. So
Mm-hmm.
education, continue your education, among other things, but that's the number one thing I would say for sure.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. I could totally agree with that. Last but not least, where can people find you on social media and how can people get in touch with your school and how can people enroll?
Okay, wow. So I'm Mary Negron School of Nails, pretty much across the board. If you're on YouTube, Mary Negron School of Nails. If you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, Mary Negron School of Nails with the @ sign. Everything across the board, Facebook, Mary Negron School of Nails, and ultimately my website, www.marynegronschoolofnails.com. You can enroll there. You can buy products there. I have my own product line that my students use when they're in school. So if you need products, if you need e-files, if you need training, all of my entire curriculum is on my website. You can actually, if you're not looking for a license, but you still want to learn everything that my students learn, for $1,500 rather than $6,000 for a license, you can get the same curriculum. And we do monthly payment plans. You can enroll at my school to become a licensed nail technician by going to that website as well, Mary Negron School of Nails. Click enroll. All you got to do is have the proper documentation, and we will get you in. And our school is a hybrid education, so we do all the theory online, and then when you come in, it's let's do some nails. Let's get these nails, this nail
Mhm.
practice in. And right now, I'm proud to say that I have a 98% pass rate for my state board. All my students pass.
Great.
Um, the first time, if they don't pass the first time, they pass it the second time with flying colors. And so
Mhm.
I'm super proud of that. We've got students that go to other schools that take my state board practice, pass their state board. So we're doing a lot we're trying
Mhm.
to educate every single person that we can. And proud to say we've graduated over 150 students as of today. So
Wow.
in the past 4 years, yes. So I'm super
That's
proud of
incredible.
them. I hope every single nail tech in Augusta is licensed and comes through here at least. But most of them are coming from out of state. We've got students that have
Wow.
traveled as far as 4 hours a day driving to the school, staying in class for 5 hours, and then 4 hours back. It was someplace in North Carolina.
Wow.
It was a mother and two daughters that came all three together every Saturday for a year, and that would spent more time on the road than they did in class, just so they could sit in my classroom. And I'm super grateful for that. And most of my
Wow.
students travel from Atlanta, Charlotte, or Savannah, which are both 2.5 hour drives every week. So we have a
Wow.
very flexible schedule for our students that want to get licensed. We do have a very flexible 1 day a week schedule. So again, the no excuses school, no excuses. We can get you licensed for sure.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. Thank you so much, Mary, for jumping on. I really appreciate this conversation. I really appreciate your insight. I'm glad that, people like yourself are really passionate about education and, are about, properly educating those in terms of different sectors of the nail industry, especially with safety and sanitation, because I think that's very, very important. And so I think that, I really, learned stuff from you and, I really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Anytime. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Take care. Thank
All right.
you. Bye bye. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. Bye bye.